On air, online, and squeezed into your smartphone too. And you are FM 103.7. Every week he joins us to try and make our life a little bit less painful in some way. Makes your life a little less painful. Maybe he makes mine a little more. Our exercise physiologist, Mark Goswell. Well, you can't have a compliment. We can't have compliments every time people come in.
No. You've got to keep it real all the time. And, I try to make your life a little bit easier, but definitely make the listeners' lives a little bit easier. So we'll do that today.
All right. So the series on movement, it's very important. We're going to move. And we're going to do these things. Yep. And we're always, as you say, the body finds the easiest way to do things, which is usually inherently the wrong thing. Today, we're going to tackle the stairs.
Yes, the stairs and the things that people find so difficult to get around on, and especially as we get older and we start to get hip, knee, back issues. We start to do weird and wonderful things about getting up and down stairs. And it's one of those things that we face most days, unless you can find an escalator to go up. But we've got to get up and down some sort of steps in some way, shape or form during most days.
All right. I'll ask two things here. What are we doing wrong that you can obviously correct us on? And do we take for granted, like we might have, say, just a couple of stairs? Do we do those small ones wrong, the ones that we do all the time?
Look, it's like it's what we talk about every week. People generate these weird and wonderful movement patterns because of weaknesses and limitations within their movement. So, a very simple test that people can do is to see whether they have issues with stairs. Is they stand up just out of the chair that they're sitting in now, stand on one leg. Now, if you can't stand on one leg because you've got balance issues, you're sure as hell not going to be able to go up and down stairs in a hurry.
Correctly.
Yeah, correctly. So, if we stand on one leg, lift the foot off the floor just by hiking the hip. So keeping the legs straight. Just lift your foot off the floor by lifting the hip up. Mm-hmm. And then see if you can do a little half or a quarter squat on the one leg. Now, if you can't do that, that is the functional movement pattern that we do to go up and down stairs is effectively a single-legged squat. So if you can't do that, you're going to create these weird and wonderful movement patterns getting up and down a set of stairs.
So sometimes, like you said, in this scenario, it's a case of getting that other thing right, or to recognise that that is the thing that is inherently part of the larger behaviour.
Yeah.
How do we sort of go about fixing that?
Or fixing it, you obviously come and see me or an exercise physiologist. But we get into that later. But look, the realities are you've got to get the movement pattern, so the connection of the hips and pelvis, so your stabilizers to actually work in conjunction with your leg strength. So there's lots of things that you can do to develop leg strength, particularly if you've got some knee issues. And I had an older client come into the studio the other day who was 82, and she was wonderful, and she had some troubles getting up and down stairs. And so I asked her whether she's been into pole dancing recently, but one of the things that you can do is if you've got the old Hills hoist clothes lying out the back, or if you've got a pole or a post that you can hang on to, you grab onto that pole, you get in as close as you can with your feet, and while holding onto the pole, you actually try and do a squat, but it's a squat where you're actually mimicking sitting down on a chair. So your body will look like a chair as you're coming down, so you're hanging onto the pole.
Yeah, I'm familiar with these.
Yeah, it's a really good way to develop glute strength, and it's a really good way to develop strength within the legs without putting any pressure on the knees. One of the other things that you can do is it's about a technique. So, coming into 2NUR, I'll walk up and down the stairs to get up into the studio. One of the things that people do when they're walking upstairs is they'll generate the load through the toes, so through the ball of the foot. Now, when you're doing that, you're really relying on the quadriceps or the muscles in the front of the leg, but you've got a much stronger muscle, which is in the glutes and the hamstrings. And so if you're walking upstairs in particular, think about getting your heel in contact with the actual stair and driving up through the heels.
I immediately know I'm doing this wrong because
everyone walks up on the toes.
But I also know the heel is like usually not even on the stair. It makes no contact.
No, it makes no contact. So you try and lift your whole body weight with just your quadriceps, and they're not as strong as the glutes. And to get into the technical side of it, when you're actually walking up a set of stairs, it's a hip extension, not a leg extension. So we actually want to use the driving force of the glutes to propel ourselves up the stairs. So one of the easiest things to do is if you are having troubles getting up and down stairs, take that extra half a second and place your heel in contact with the step and feel as though you're driving your whole body weight up with your glutes, which is literally the strongest muscle in the body.
I'm going back to your thought here of how we always do things the easy way.
Yeah.
I think once you get to start doing this, I feel that is going to appear to be harder to begin with.
It will, because you'll actually have to think about it. So you'll actually get into the stairs and you'll think about it. You'll have the foot, and your body for a brief moment won't know how to do it. It'll feel foreign.
So is that what the problem will be? Because it'll be in our mind, because it's like, well, my muscle memory doesn't do that. You're now making me learn something different, and that's going to play in your mind, and you'll go, oh, gee, this is harder.
Yeah, so you create a new movement pattern, but the thing is you're going back to the movement pattern that we're actually designed to do. So, yeah, we've got to utilize our body as efficiently as possible, particularly if we're coming back from some type of injury, ailment or condition. So we keep going back to that easy path. So challenge yourself to actually do it the way you're supposed to do, which may be a little bit more challenging the first couple of times, but when you repattern your movements, like we're talking about getting up and down out of a chair, getting in and out of the car, it doesn't take long to repattern those movements, because your body actually wants to do it, because it is a more efficient and stronger way to do it.
And in a couple of years from here, you'll be doing those marathons where they run up buildings on the staircases.
Up the Empire State Building, or up, I think they do up Centrepoint Tower as well, don't they? So,
they do.
yeah, take the stairs instead of the elevator.
I've taken the elevator up there. I'm quite happy with that.
So am I.
Mark, well, thanks as always. A pleasure. We'll talk to you next time.
I will be here.
All right, if you'd love Mark to cover a particular topic for you, whether it's movement, whether it's some other part of the body, exercise, doesn't matter what it is, he'd love to hear from you, and we'll hash them out week by week from here. You can send him an email now, askmark@2NURFM.com.